Greetings, students, and welcome to this episode of The Professor Travel. I am your host, The Professor Travel, coming to you from Orange County, California. This is the website, the vlog, and the podcast that you come to in order to learn more about different travel destinations. This is where you come to get together as a community in order to discuss them. Hopefully, this will inspire you to travel more and ultimately to enjoy life more. Now, you can reach me on a variety of different social media platforms, starting, of course, with my website, which is at theprofessortravel.com. But on YouTube, Facebook, and on TikTok, you can reach me there at The Professor Travel. I'm also on Instagram. If you want to find me there, you can see me at the_professor_travel. If you're on Twitter, you can find me there at theprofessortr1. And then on Blogspot, if you're a blogger, you can find me there at theprofessortravel.blogspot.com. Today, I have a visiting professor, again, coming back, my returning professor, Ishaan Gokhale. How you doing, Ishaan?
Hello.
Great to have you back, man. We've been having a lot of conversations about your travels and the different journeys and trips, the epic excursions that you've been on. But before we get started, and for the sake of my students who have not yet had the opportunity to see some of your previous videos, can you give us a little bit of a background about just
Sure.
some things about yourself and your travels?
Yeah. I've been traveling for pretty much my entire adult life, every chance I get. Um, a few really long vacations during that time. Few road trips all around the U.S., around the world one time, uh, all the continents. And in the previous videos, I've been saying that I don't know the number of countries I've been to.
Mm-hmm.
I finally did a count after our last video that we did like this,
Go for it. I'm
and
curious.
it's only 76 countries so
Oh,
far.
only 76. Only 76, he says. Okay, well,
I
I've been
say
to.
I say only because uh, I have a pretty good friend up in Canada who's gone to more than 100,
Okay, well,
and and
I've
I
been to a
know
paltry
about
23, and I run a travel channel. Come on, man. Work with me on this.
and I know about quite a few people who have been to a lot more also. So I follow their adventures online also.
Well, we really like to hear about yours too. In fact, this specific vlog and podcast is going to continue from our last week's conversation about your trips to Nepal and Tibet. And this was when you were making the transition into China.
Right.
And so, before we get started, though, can you tell me a little bit about this picture that we're seeing right here on the screen? Because again,
Right.
the people from the podcast won't be able to see this, but at least we can describe it.
Uh-huh. So that's me. The river is called Li River, Li,
Hmm.
and it's near the town of Guilin, Guilin, China. And Guilin is I actually honestly I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I think it's Guilin.
That's okay.
Um, uh, and that is a lot of tea plantations are over there. There are a lot of farming areas and stuff.
Mm,
And there's this mountain range which looks really pretty in the background.
yeah.
And we had a uh, like almost a full day's boat ride on the river, going through these mountain canyons and everything.
Mm.
And I'm holding a 20 yuan note, Chinese currency.
And the
Uh,
name of the currency is yuan, spelled
why?
Yuan, correct?
Right,
Okay.
right. Uh, it's 20 yuan, and on that, in the back, the photograph of that is the mountains that are behind me.
Hmm.
So it is the same spot that that photo was taken. So they told us that, hey, you can take a photo with the 20 yuan note, and uh,
And
so
this is how much it takes to cost on your little
yeah,
river cruise. So.
that's like the Kodak moment kind of a shot.
Well, I really appreciate you first off
I
sharing that with us.
I have I am not paid by Kodak to say that.
No,
Just
that's okay.
disclaimer.
Are they still in business? I didn't know. Okay.
I don't know.
Um, so let's continue from the conversation that we had in our previous one. Now, you had in the previous interview, you were taking a trip from Nepal, or actually specifically, you started, I think, in Kathmandu, and then worked your way through Nepal and Tibet
Right,
until you came to the China border. Now,
right.
how long in advance did we need to start to plan for this? Just as a reminder, how long in advance
Uh,
did you have to get like visas and all kinds of stuff?
right. The visa I actually got quite a long time in advance. I don't think I had to do it that way, but I got it. I think like 4 or 5 months in advance.
Okay.
You could get it like a month in advance. It's fine. Um, and uh, at that time, I had gone in 2011. At that time, there was only a single entry. Uh, you know, you had a set time for the visa, and they gave you that, right?
Okay.
Um, and basically, what happened was I had gotten the visa through a travel agency,
Hmm.
which was providing the tour for Tibet.
Okay.
Um, and that was a 30-day China visa. So I had booked this ticket from Nepal into Tibet through this travel agency like a few months beforehand.
Okay.
And I had this trip that we're going to talk about right now, the China tour, that was just following that one, right? It was like a continuation.
And how long
Um,
were you going to be in China for?
so this trip was supposed to be 17 days long.
Okay.
It's from a company called Gate One Travel. Again, I'm not paid by them, but I can strongly recommend them for anyone.
I've heard of them myself.
Um, uh, I had booked the Gate One China tour, and it was actually my first tour with Gate One. I've done quite a few after that since then.
Okay.
Um, and uh, you know, the Tibet company told us not to, specifically told us like, do not get the China visa on your own. We will provide that for you,
Okay.
right? So I said, fine. I booked that trip, and like 4 or 5 months in advance, whatever it was, and they gave the visa. We got the visa. Actually, we actually got the piece of paper the day before we entered China.
I don't like
Uh,
that. That makes me
that
very nervous.
that was I told the story about that in the last uh, presentation
Last
we
video,
did.
yeah, the last video we did, you
Um,
had a very, very
so,
close. Ugh.
um, but everything worked out fine. We came into China, and actually, sorry, everything did not work out fine. We came into China, and
Mm,
I had I think it was like a 21-day total duration that I was allowed to stay in China on that visa.
okay.
So like 6 7 days of that was already taken by the Tibet trip, and I had the remaining time in
Oh,
China.
so they lumped in the Tibet trip along with that. So
Yes,
you didn't get the full 30 days
I
total.
did not get the full 30 days or whatever it was.
Oh, that would make me not
Um,
happy.
yeah, and so basically what that meant was I was not able to complete this 17-day Gate One tour of China.
So how long were you
Um,
going to end up
so
spending in?
I ended up spending 10 days over there,
Oh
and
man.
they were nice enough to kind of accommodate me and one other passenger, my friend I was traveling with at that time.
Mm,
Uh, and uh, we had the same issue. We had also gone through Tibet, and we were in over here. Um, so uh, the Gate One was able to accommodate two of us to a separate tour from the rest of the tour group
okay.
in the ending. So we were with them in the beginning with everyone else, and the last 3 4 days we flew into Guilin on our own,
Okay.
and they gave us all this on our own private tour, which would have been part of the original tour anyway, but just a few days earlier for us. And then that was it. We had to fly out of China after this.
Was there any way to extend the
So
visa at all? Was that even
no,
an option?
no, no. So I tried doing that. So we can talk about that in this.
Okay.
I got to Beijing. Uh, the Lhasa to Beijing, that's another, maybe a story for another video. um, and it got to Beijing, and um first thing went to the, I guess it was a Chinese,
Like a Chinese consulate type
yeah,
place?
consulate type, but I can't call it a consulate, right? Because consulate implies like it's an American consulate in China, but it wasn't exactly a consulate. It was just like a visa services kind of an office,
Okay.
government office. And uh, I asked them, like, this is the situation. I have this permit from Tibet, which includes China visa. It's only valid until this, but I need to stay until that date. And they said there's nothing they can do about it
So
because
so even
the,
if you show them your hotel accommodations and everything else,
everything,
it
yeah,
didn't matter.
it just doesn't matter. You have that paperwork which says you're only allowed to stay until so and so date, and you have to leave by that date. That's it. We cannot do anything about it.
Oh
Uh,
man.
so fine, that's the way it is. So
Well, let's make the most of the 10 days that you
right,
have there. So,
right.
let's talk about some pre-planning for the trip. Now,
Mhm.
I know you had gone through already Nepal and Tibet. Now you're
Mhm.
going to be going over to China. At this
Mhm.
point, you've already been on the road for a little while. You already have clothes that have been packed for a variety of different, you know,
And
weather
India before
type.
that, where it was
And
very
India
hot.
before that too. So I mean, you had warm weather clothes, you had cold weather clothes.
Mhm.
Now you're in China.
Right.
I think
And
before you had said, did you bring malaria medication as well, or
not on this one. No, that was on a different trip, Africa
okay,
trip.
all
Yeah.
right. So you're heading into China. What are you prepared for as far as weather goes here?
So this is now the first week of November.
Okay,
So I had the cold weather clothes from Tibet. Those were just fine in Beijing.
okay.
I believe Beijing is probably the coldest place that we went to on that trip.
Even colder than
Uh,
Nepal?
oh no, on China, on the
Oh,
China
okay.
trip. Yeah. Um, Actually, yes, colder than Nepal. Yes, colder than Tibet. No.
Okay.
um, uh, Beijing was probably the coldest, but it was still fine. I had one jacket that was more than enough for me,
Okay.
um, and it was fine. Like first week of November, I don't know. I guess I expected more because I have a couple of friends who went in January and they said they were freezing their butts off. So
Yeah, no, I understand that. And as far as
um,
the transportation situation on this, you had come on a train through Nepal and Tibet,
uh-huh.
or not the train. I'm sorry, you
From
were actually a bus
well, bus up to Lhasa, and then from Lhasa to Beijing, I took that train.
train. Okay, got it. So they had transportation from the edge of Tibet all the way going into China then.
Right. Uh,
So no flights were needed at this point.
no flights were needed. Uh, I actually did not have a outbound flight yet because I didn't know what the visa situation was going to be like.
Surprise.
Yeah, so I actually booked the outbound flight during this trip.
Okay.
Um, but basically, arrived in Beijing. It's a direct train from Lhasa. Beautiful train ride.
Okay.
Uh, Went to the hotel. So all this, like I said, is in a group tour. I just had to reach the hotel. So we had four people from the Tibet trip who were on this train with me. So I knew them from there, and four of us shared a cab into Beijing. The other two people actually did not have a hotel booked.
Oh man.
So, so they were just like backpackers from Australia. So they were just going in and seeing what to do after that, after
Oh,
arriving.
man.
Uh,
So you're now
um,
in Beijing, which is one of the largest cities in
mhm,
China.
mhm.
Population multi-million.
Correct.
I mean,
Mhm.
it is just insane, like New York size.
Correct.
How are you getting around there? I mean, like you've got this
So they
hotel.
have, yeah. So I knew the directions to the hotel, but they have an excellent subway system.
Okay.
They have public transportation is awesome nowadays. Google Maps, it's fantastic. So you can, look up the public transport from wherever, and train stations are connected on the metro line. So
Internet access okay while you were there?
internet access. Well, so I had a international data plan at that
Okay.
time
All
because I
right.
was going through many countries.
All right.
So that was fine. And in the train station, actually, they had Wi-Fi, so that was fine.
Okay.
No worries whatsoever. I mean, everything was okay. And I had a Chinese language translation app on my phone, so you
Can I
know.
ask? Not that you're
Mhm.
uh, not that you're endorsing any specific one, but I'm kind of curious about that because I have a need for going to a variety of
Yeah.
countries, and I don't necessarily speak all the languages.
Uh-huh.
Is it like a Google Translate, or who
Yeah.
does?
So I had Google Translate also, but there are other ones specifically for China and other countries, other languages.
What's the one that you were
So
using?
uh, there's one called WN Mandarin, and there is one called, oh, I guess I deleted the others.
The WN Mandarin is
Yeah,
one. Okay.
yeah. Um, and that WN, that company has a lot of apps for, like, I see Japanese, I see French, Russian, Thai. You
Okay.
know, um, so yeah, I mean, I had that. It's pretty simple to walk up to someone and hold your phone up and say, you know, like,
I
where's
need
the
help.
ATM machine, or where's the restroom, or read that, and then point.
Okay, so
Uh,
that's not too bad. I was thinking in terms of it with like being almost like a Siri thing where you just hold down the button and say, "I need your help." It translates it to them and then
uh,
it accepts like
yeah. So
incoming voice.
well. Now maybe yes. 2011, I had an iPhone 3.
Mm,
I did not have Siri on the iPhone 3.
yeah, we're up to 12 now, I think. So it's okay. But okay, so here you are in Beijing.
Hmm.
Do you have any pre-planned excursions while you're here?
No, nothing at all. I was actually looking forward to relax after the Tibet trip.
Well, guess
So
what?
uh, uh, I had a couple of days in between until the next group tour was going to start.
Okay.
So actually, I relaxed very nicely on the train ride up. That was nice. And then I had a couple of days in Beijing City to just kind of get acquainted on our own. Um,
What did you find
and
that you did in Beijing? Was it just primarily shopping
so
and eating,
no,
or
the
were there
first
other
day,
things?
first priority was getting the visa straight. You know,
Okay.
so I looked up where these offices are. I went to that. That took a whole day really. Like you have to stand in line. Like all the bureaucracy, right? So
Oh man.
uh, it took most of the day. Finally, dejected, it did not work. I came back to
Mm.
the hotel. uh, Next day, just hung around. Like there was a shopping mall nearby. Just walked around over there. Kind of relaxed. And the day after that, the tour was supposed to start.
Now,
So
staying in Beijing for just a second,
mhm,
you had said in the previous video you did not want to necessarily pick up a lot of souvenirs because you have
correct.
limited space in your bags and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So like, what kind of stuff would you
Shopping
buy
mall,
while you're at the shopping mall?
food.
Food, very good. My favorite subject. How was the food in China? How was the food
Uh,
specifically in
I
Beijing?
like it, and it's a matter of personal taste, right? So
Yeah.
I like Chinese food now. The authentic Chinese food, not so much,
Mm.
but
Yeah, there's certain things where it's like it's more of a delicacy, and
right.
people tend to like. I'll give a perfect example. Whenever we eat things like dim sum or something like that,
Hmm.
usually there's like things like chicken's feet that are
Hmm.
on there that I'm
Hmm.
not a huge fan of.
Nope.
But I mean, like dumplings
Oh
or
yeah.
bao, or things like that that are like really great. I love them a lot.
Yep.
Any type of noodles, I'm a huge fan of noodles. So I
Hmm.
mean, that's one of the staples that I know that you have there as well as rice. I mean, they're
Hmm.
just huge amounts.
Hmm.
So I mean, anything equivalent to that? Do you remember what you had while you were in
Yeah.
Beijing?
Yeah. It's basically that. It was noodles. It was chicken. Some kind of chicken dishes. Yeah. I mean, I went to a place where it was like cafeteria style,
Okay.
so you could see what you're ordering. You could say point to that and say I want that kind of thing. Um, so it was fine. No problems.
I know my sister is a huge fan of duck, and I know
Mm,
whenever we get there, like whenever we've seen authentic duck, it's usually hanging in a window or something like that. So I wasn't sure if there was stuff like that. It wouldn't surprise me if it was, but
mm,
pork and duck it seem like they're the big things over there in addition to
yeah.
chicken. So
Yeah.
it's not like um, it's not like India where you wouldn't have stuff like that hanging around. So, but in terms of okay, so you're there for a day. It sounds like you're eating pretty decent. Pricing okay as far as
Yeah.
the food went.
Yeah. No problems. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Hmm.
All right. So 2 days pass, and now what's the next leg of what we're going to be doing here? Where are we headed to next, and like how many days are you going to be there
Yeah.
for?
So this group tour, huge contrast to the Tibet. Very well organized. Um, Very nice. The guide met us beforehand. There was a piece of paper, in fact, in the hotel room saying, this is my name. I'm at this phone number, this room number. You can call me anytime, 24/7. Blah blah blah. Like
I got that in Thailand, where I
yeah,
literally had a little piece of paper under
it
my door
was
saying, "Hey, I'm coming to your hotel to pick you
yeah,
up. Here's the time." They were very, very
it
smart
was
about the way they did.
very
I'm
nice.
very happy about that. Okay,
Mhm.
so they come to the hotel, they pick you up. Do they pick you up in
So
like a motor coach,
no,
or
this was a full-on bus.
it was a full on bus? Okay,
Yeah, there were like I don't know some 30 some people on the bus,
all right,
uh, and everyone was American, mostly
okay,
American, Australian, English speaking. Um, and yeah, we just started off in Beijing. We had like 3 4 days in Beijing, all the sites.
nice.
The Olympics were just getting no, they were in 2008, so they were just over.
Okay,
Um, and so we went to the cube which they had for the swimming, if you remember.
mhm.
We went to all the major sites of Beijing, the palace, Forbidden City, Great Wall, um, Summer Palace, Winter Palace, um,
All of which you had
all
access
the
to.
Tiananmen Square, everything. I mean, all through the group. Um, my only objection to this, and this is why before this, I had never taken a group tour before, except
Mhm.
Tibet. And my only thing was I like my own independence when I'm traveling somewhere. That's me. So the group tour, you're kind of set on their schedule. You have to be back on the bus at a certain time, and all this stuff, right?
When your
um,
when your tour guide was working with you, because I know that when I was in St. Petersburg, for example, it's a
mhm,
very like they restrict you like nothing. I mean,
mhm,
they make sure you are here at this time. You make sure that you are here at this time. They are
right.
extraordinarily organized.
Hmm.
And for my own safety in an environment like that, where I'm not familiar with the language, I'm not familiar with the customs, and I know it could be potentially hostile in some types of situations. I want to be safe. And so it's like with my tour guide, she was like, I'm going to be your mother here. You don't worry about anything. I will take good care of you guys. You don't stress anything. Just stay close to me. If you need to go to the bathroom or something, you let me know. I'll be more than happy to guide you. But I want to make sure we are all together at all times. Was your tour guide
Exactly.
similar?
Exactly, and that is actually exactly the reason why I booked this particular tour, because China had the same issues as you. I don't know the language. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's why I booked the tour, and it was wonderful. Like huge, especially I enjoyed it really a lot because it was a huge contrast from Tibet, which was totally disorganized. So
Yeah.
this one was fantastic.
The chaos you were dealing with in the last video when we're talking about all the craziness that was going on with Tibet, and the very like to the minute, like, oh, here's your visa, now go. I mean, that was like, no, I don't think I could live it like on the seat of my pants like that.
Right.
But I don't think that they would allow for something like that in China, where it's extremely bureaucratically driven. And
Yeah.
that's not a diss on the Chinese government.
No, it was great
It's
actually.
very efficient, I would think, in terms
Uh-huh.
of that,
Uh-huh.
actually. So
My only a couple of things I did not like about that though, because we were rushed through certain places where I wanted to spend more time.
yeah.
Uh, so I made up my mind I want to come back here. Especially Beijing. There's so many places to see in Beijing, and you barely like we were there for 3 4 days. We just like touched the surface. Um, and I made up my mind. I'm gonna come back to Beijing on my own later, and now that I know how to get around, I can use the metro. I can, I know the money. I know kind of how to get around. I can handle myself. I want to come back to Beijing later, and I actually did a few times
and
later. So
and Mandarin was the primary language,
yeah,
not other dialects.
no.
Okay.
Well, actually, for me, it was English.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I mean, I was talking to the tour guide. I was not interacting too much with the local people.
Okay.
All of our meals were, well, most of our meals were like a group meal, where they used to take us to a restaurant and it would be a buffet style or something like that.
Okay.
Or we had a few on our own which we could manage. It wasn't a big deal at all. Um,
Were there restrooms on the bus?
Restroom on the bus? Not on this one. I don't think so.
Okay. So you had
Yeah.
to like, if somebody had to pee,
Uh,
it's like, oh, you have to tell the
Yeah,
tour
but
guide.
I mean, we were in the city of Beijing, so all the bus rides were within 1 hour.
Okay. That's not
Um,
bad. That's actually really,
uh,
really efficient. That's not bad at all.
yeah, I think the longest was when we went to Great Wall. We had like 2 hours to drive up. Everything else was fine within the city. And actually, I'd heard all these horror stories of the traffic and everything. We didn't have any of that. It was
Okay.
fine.
The other thing I keep hearing about is in terms of with the Great Wall, I'm told in several spots it's in really tough disrepair. And
Yeah,
did you
yeah,
experience that?
yeah. Well, not tough. They didn't take us to the tough spots. So we went to a place called I'm gonna mispronounce this. It's called Juyongguan,
Okay.
Juyonggguan
Okay.
section of the Great Wall, uh, and it was kind of half and half. You can say a little bit, disrepair, this little bit fixed up, um, and but we could walk on it. We didn't. I mean, there were no dangers of anyone injuring themselves or anything like that.
Yeah.
Uh, it's fine. It's beautiful through the
Okay.
mountains.
All
Um,
right. So you're there for about 3 to 4 days doing a series of tours,
right.
and it sounds like you're really experiencing the life of everything in and around Beijing, which is great. What's going to be next on your agenda after that?
So, uh, so we were in Beijing for 3 full days on the group tour, and we had one free day at the end.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Um, yeah. So on the free day, I actually arranged with these two friends who had been on the train from Lhasa, who were also on the Tibet tour.
Hmm.
So we had arranged to meet up and just spend the day together exploring on our own.
Okay.
Um, and we
So you
did
did.
that.
So you did have a
And
little bit of downtime, which is kind of
yeah,
nice.
yeah. Uh, which by the end of the third day, I was like, I want to go back to the Forbidden City because I I really love that place, and I did not think that I had enough time to go around exploring over there. It was pretty rigid. Like you go point A, point B, point C. We walk through it. Within a few hours.
Did you have an opportunity
Um,
to see the Terracotta Warriors?
that's later
Oh,
after
okay.
Beijing. Yeah.
Okay.
So in Beijing, we went to like with these friends. I went to a couple of places. One is called Temple of Heaven,
Okay.
which is this old temple.
that's that's pretty descriptive. Is it
uh,
one of those places
yeah,
you'd go back
it's
to, or?
definitely, and I did later, many years later after that. So um, it is all of it. I was very impressed with the city. Everything I saw there was beautiful. We went to this panda zoo. They
Oh,
showed us
nice.
like the baby pandas getting fed and stuff like that. Um, we went to a couple of parks where they had in the morning they have these exercise that
Like Tai
I think,
Chi.
yeah, Tai Chi.
Okay.
So they were doing that. We were encouraged to participate. Um, I am not much of that
You're
to
not the
do
exercise friend.
that.
Okay.
But we did play around. Like there was people playing frisbee and stuff, and we were playing with them. The local people,
That's nice, actually.
and it was fun. They had another game, kind of with a sort of like a ping pong racket, uh, but it's with strings, so it looks it's a ping pong size, but it's like a tennis racket, with the strings.
Oh, okay.
And they had a like a thing attached to it in
Like
a
a ball,
string.
like a
Yeah,
rubber ball.
and you just kind of smash it like that. I mean, all kinds of stuff. We just had fun over there. Uh,
That's cool.
so little bit of everything, all the tourist sites practically, but not everything within the tourist sites. So that part I did not like. It was like we go, 1 hour here, 2 hours there, 1 hour there, and to me each of these is like a whole day kind of place.
You know what?
You know.
I didn't ask, but I was kind of curious. Are there restrictions on things like alcohol? Did people try to order alcohol? Anything like that?
No, not
No
in
restrictions. Okay.
no. Mhm.
All right. Wasn't sure. I just thought I would
Yeah,
ask.
it's fine. Um, yeah. So after Beijing, then next stop was a city called Xi'an, Xin, and
Xi'an.
that is where the terracotta warriors are. Um,
Okay.
so it's actually we flew from Beijing to Xi'an.
Okay.
It's like an hour-long flight.
That's
Uh,
not too bad. That's like from here to Vegas. So,
yeah, and that first day we went to this place called the Shangji Provincial History Museum,
okay.
which is like the history of old China. Because Xi'an used to be the capital. It's the town where the Silk Road ended in Xi'an, coming from the west.
Very cool.
Um, so they had a lot of trading. They had a lot of, it was a very rich city in the olden times.
Mm,
And so they had the history museum. They had a Tang Dynasty kind of tour, dinner show. Uh,
nice.
we went to see that. That was pretty neat. Uh, and then the next day was the Terracotta Warriors.
So tell me
Uh,
what did you think of the Terracotta Warriors? How was that?
Fantastic,
Yeah.
mind blowing. And I'd seen there was a traveling exhibition a few years before that. I had gone in LA somewhere. Um, so I'd seen a few of those before in the museum
But
in
this
downtown LA
doesn't
somewhere.
do it justice.
Uh, there's that famous photo of the whole, the
Parade of them.
yeah, the place where they were originally buried. They're still digging it up,
Oh man.
and and you see like these thousands of them. The whole army of soldiers, right, that they had made, and with the horses and chariots and people, and every single one of those is unique,
That's
which is incredible.
insane.
I mean, just amazing.
And again, the story
Um,
behind this is that either there was a general or an emperor that
Emperor.
was it was an emperor that was
Yeah.
buried there, and so he had his the terracotta warriors are supposed to, at least the tale goes, the terracotta warriors are supposed to protect him in the afterlife.
Hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was the first emperor of China, Emperor Qi,
Hmm.
uh, uh, who, he's the one who kind of unified all of the tribes together. He was the first emperor, and after he died, he was going to die, and he said, "I want this army built for the afterlife." So they built the whole thing, and it's like each individual soldier is modeled after somebody, but they're all unique. Every facial expression, everything about them is unique. Their heights and body types, but they're all like human size. So uh,
That's
whoever,
amazing.
it's just incredible to see that. And there's a whole, like, you know 500,000 feet down, you can see the whole army.
Oh gosh.
It's like you're standing on one end of it. It's like a long rectangular complex.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
gonna say how I was gonna ask you how they like because it's not still outside. They have to protect it from the
it is
elements.
inside. Yeah, it is
It is
indoors.
okay.
Um, and the cool thing was they actually had the guy who found it originally. He was there for a book signing
Are you serious?
on that
Wow.
day. Yeah, so I actually bought a book. This is one of the few souvenirs I
I
got.
was like, wow,
Um,
good catch.
um, so I actually bought a book over there. I had him sign it, and I have that book now. It's like it's a guy who first discovered it in 1972 or 73 or something like that.
What a great opportunity.
Um,
That is
yeah.
amazing.
So yeah, that is great. That is really good. Um,
So how long are you going to be there for in Xi'an?
Xi'an. So the first day we arrived, like I said, we went to the history museum and the Tang Dynasty dinner show. Next day we went to this place, the Terracotta Warriors Museum, archaeological site. Uh, and it's a group tour, so they took us to a furniture shop factory.
Okay.
Uh, the lacquer furniture factory in shop.
Well, lacquer is a very big thing
Uh,
in China. So,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you see a lot of
uh,
the furnitures and even little boxes and stuff like that are
yeah,
lacquer and stuff like that.
yeah. Actually, very nice actually,
Mhm.
but shopping not for me.
You're just not filled up with souvenirs. You have very limited space. So I get it. Makes perfect sense.
uh, and we went to a park over there. We went to the old city. So the old city architecture is still there. They have the wall around the city,
Hmm.
not complete, but major part of it is there,
Sure.
and with the gates and everything. And of course, the modern city has grown out beyond that way more.
Sure.
But it's a nice place. Some of us went up to the top of the, like, we could climb up to the wall and walk around over there and come back down again. And it's fun.
It seems like it would be like a really good hike, though.
Hmm. Well, I mean, there is not so much. You just go up the wall and you come back down again. You just walk
Oh,
around.
okay. So it's just kind of like, oh,
It's
here, take
not.
a
It's
look.
not like you're going all the way around. Like if you've been to Dubrovnik, Croatia, you go
Yeah.
all the way around that, right? You told me about that
And
last time.
that is quite a walk, I'll tell
Hmm.
you.
Hmm. But this is just up and down a little bit, and then you're down again.
Was the food
Um,
similar there, or
Similar, yeah. Uh, in one place we had Peking duck, which was
mm.
like a special. Oh, that was Beijing. That was Beijing.
Oh, well, see, there's
Um,
the duck I was talking about earlier.
yeah.
So I do like duck. I like chicken more, but duck's my sister's favorite, so I get it.
And it's interesting. I've actually written over here in my notes 105 proof Chinese fire water.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. That's like literally breathing alcohol. So, like, did you just have a shot of
Yeah,
it, or what was it?
yeah. I think it was kind of like a shot. I think if I remember correctly.
Oh, it must
Uh,
be like,
it, yeah, no, that burns your throat.
see, I could have plum wine, but I mean, anything more than that, I don't know if oh,
Hmm.
wow, that's like moonshine.
They've even called it fire water. So,
Oh gosh. Okay, cool. Well,
um,
cheers to your last night there. Man. Although
um,
I think I would really like to see the show. I think that speaking as
it
kind of
was
a history
interesting.
buff, it would be
Yeah,
very fascinating, I think.
yeah, it was. It actually was. Um, and yeah, that was it in Xi'an. Next morning, so this is where we split off from the rest of the tour group.
Okay.
Uh, the rest of the tour group, that Gate One original tour, includes like going to Yangtze River,
Mm,
going to the dam, the Three Gorges Dam.
yeah.
Sorry, not Three Gorges. What am I talking about?
But it's a
Uh,
famous dam. I know what one you're talking about though.
yeah, yeah. Um, and Uh, they went to Shanghai after that. We didn't do any of that.
Mm.
So we did do, so the guide, all this the guide arranged for us privately. Like he said, okay, I'm going to put you on tomorrow morning's flight. And that's another interesting story. Uh, and the flight goes from Xi'an to Guilin, and you will have your own private tour guide in Guilin. He'll meet you at the airport. He'll take you around. So you see Guilin, you go do this Lee River cruise, that the photo you had last time.
Okay.
Uh, and then after that, you have to fly out of China because that's when the visa expires.
Sure.
So at that point, I booked my flight from Guilin to Hong Kong. Hong Kong is good enough to be out of China.
Okay.
Uh, and I was like, okay, I'll take care of the rest later, but at least get a ticket out of China first.
And we'll focus on Hong Kong
Um,
in another conversation that we
sure.
might have later on down the line.
Mm.
But talk to me about Guilin. I'm not familiar with it. How is that location?
Guilin is like south central, not too far south, not like all the way down to Tibet, but kind of south central China.
Okay.
And it's a very scenic area. Like you saw the photo over there with the mountains in the background, the river going through the canyons. Uh, Beautiful, very beautiful. And they have tea plantations. Uh, it's just gorgeous place. And we visited a tea plantation.
Hmm.
Had some tea over there. That was nice. Um, and um, yeah, that's it. Just the next day, the Lee River cruise, and drive back to Guilin from, it was like most of the day, like 9 to 5 kind of thing. And then we drove back to Guilin at the end of that, and that was it. The next day, next morning, flight to Hong Kong.
Question about the Lee River cruise.
Hmm.
Did that include like food, like an all you
Lunch,
can
yeah,
eat and stuff? Okay.
lunch. Yeah, they had a lunch buffet on board.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, breakfast and dinner was on our breakfast was at the hotel. Dinner was on our own later.
Was the breakfast
Um,
more Americanized breakfast, or did they have
they
like
had
local?
both.
They had
They
locals.
had both.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. I always
Mhm.
like to hear that because I like to get a little bit of a flavor for
Mhm.
different areas, and
Mhm.
even in the same country, you might have like our the breakfast I would get in Rome is very different than the one I would get in Venice and stuff like that. So
Right.
there would be specific, distinctive
Yeah.
local fare that was much more interesting. And I
Yeah,
thought,
and with Gate One, this is a company that stays in kind of nice hotels.
mhm.
They book the nice hotels, so those hotels will always cater to like American tourists, and you know, uh, on top of like the local tourism and whatever.
So no squatting in
Uh,
a hole like you had to do in Tibet.
right, nothing like that.
Okay, good.
It was it was like 4 star and above. It was Beijing was actually 5 star. It was amazing.
Okay.
I'd never stay in a hotel like that on my own. I mean, I couldn't afford it. Like, it's just fantastic.
And how was the airport in Guilan?
Oh, modern, very modern.
Okay.
Everything was great. And but so here's the interesting part about the flight. So we came to the airport. Our guide, we had a different local guide in Guilin.
Hmm.
Uh, no, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused with this. It was actually in Xi'an. We had a local guide in Xi'an.
Okay.
We went to the airport in Xi'an, and this lady, her fiance was one of the security guards at Xi'an Airport.
Oh, okay.
Uh, so we got there, and she used his connection to check us in early, get us through the security early,
Nice.
and just get us into the near the gate area. And I'm like, this is just like India. You're kind of
It's who
you're
you
using your
know.
connections. Yeah, exactly.
It's all who you know.
It's like, and he was a security guy. He was like the TSA pre-check kind of guy, and she just we arrived at the airport too early, so we were not allowed to check in yet, and all this. But through this, you're like, yeah, go for it. Just get the boarding pass, go through security, you're in. Like, done.
That sounds nice, actually. So, all right. Well, very, very cool. All right. Well, let's talk about your post vacation takeaways from this. Okay. Um, Starting with the good stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk. What were the things that, a first time traveler should absolutely see on a trip like this to China?
You mean the tourist touristy places.
Yeah, well, whether you think that's the stuff that's on the path or off the
Mhm.
path. I mean, like,
Okay.
what do you recommend?
Yeah. Well, there are some very obvious ones. For example, Great Wall of China, you cannot miss. I
Mhm.
mean, you cannot go to China and say you've not been there. That's
Yeah.
kind of, really bad. Uh, there's also the Tiananmen Square and the Forbidden City,
Hmm.
which was used to be the old Emperor's Palace in Beijing. Um, Xi'an terracotta warriors. I can't stress enough. They're amazing. It's just amazing to look at. Um, and for the scenery, I really like Guilin Lee River Cruise.
Yeah,
Um,
you're definitely much
it-
more of a rural person than I am.
yeah.
You like the outdoors and stuff like that. I'm
Uh,
more of a city slicker, and I think I've said that
mhm,
on a number of my vlogs and
yep.
podcasts.
Mhm.
But you like
Well, so
to
am I.
go.
I do like cities like that. Like Beijing is fantastic city. You can easily spend like a week or 2 weeks there.
Yeah,
It's like going to place like Paris or Prague or something like that. There's no shortage of places to go, places to see.
that sounds like really cool. I mean, again, I haven't been to China yet, but it's on the itinerary of places to go. But what are obviously some things to be aware of? Obviously, the visa process seems like you have to
Yeah,
really
nowadays,
be on top of it.
well, yeah, but nowadays they made it much easier for U.S. citizens. So they are now giving multiple entry visas valid for 10 years, any number of entries, each visit up to, I believe it's 30 days, 30 or 90 days, I forget.
Okay, that's nice, actually. That
So
actually
I
is
have
much more
that.
efficient.
Yeah. So now I have that, so now I'm set for until I think it's 2025, I'm set. Um, so, uh, yeah, visas, no problem now.
Any criminal
The
element like like picking pockets or things like
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So the guide told us like it's like any other major city in the
Yeah.
world. It's the same. Just be aware of your surroundings and all of that, especially on metros and crowded areas like that, buses, stuff like that. Tourist areas like Great Wall of China, you have to be careful. Um, but it's pickpockets. It's not violence. You know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you don't.
so
I think even the criminal element doesn't want to try and deal with the police in a place like China. It would be really
yeah, yeah.
dangerous for them.
Well, I'm sure they have it, but it's not. Just like the normal precautions you take in any major city, it would apply there. So
Yeah, but they don't.
um,
The criminal element doesn't want to necessarily screw up the tourism,
no.
because that would mean a serious crackdown on them and their ability to do stuff. As far as value adds, cost savings, best practices, you booked everything through Gate
It
One.
was yeah, it was just a tour group, and Gate One is actually one of the more expensive ones. There are others, but the the efficiency of the tour, the places we went to, the whole everything about it was incredible. It was wonderful. Um, uh, and for when you're on your own, I would say in terms of value adds, like in comparing it to Europe, for example, a lot of cities in Europe have this thing where you can get like a visitor card, like Prague day pass,
Yeah.
a 3-day pass or whatever, which will allow you museum access, the public transportation access, all this stuff. Nothing like that really exists in Beijing.
Is it all pretty
Uh,
much like a la
yeah,
carte?
a la carte, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have to kind of be aware of that. Like you should know, I need this much money for going to all these places. Never take a taxi cab if you can avoid it. Take the public transportation.
Okay.
uh, Beijing is a huge city and it is really spread out everywhere. uh, so the taxi may take like a couple of hours to reach somewhere with the traffic. Public
Mm.
transport may take 1 hour. um, Taxi may take up to 2-3 hours.
Oh gosh.
And not to mention the cost is just humongous. um, so you have to kind of weigh those things, right? Like obviously taxi is probably safer than metro train,
Yeah.
uh, in terms of safety and pickpockets and things like that, but you know it it's a pro and con, right?
Yeah, I think
Um,
you kind of just weigh the risk on something like
mhm.
that, and then you also have to weigh the time variance too. It's like, okay, look, if I have the time and I want to be safe, I might even get a private car in order to take
Oh,
me
wow.
from one place to.
Yeah,
Well, I
if
mean,
you
it
got the
just
money,
depends.
sure, why not?
Well, I've done that actually. When I was in Thailand, for example, I took a private car
Thailand is sorry, Thailand is very different than China
in terms of.
in terms of money, in terms of cost of everything. Uh,
I know that
mm,
with like the U.S. dollar at the time I went, it was I want to say 35 Thai baht to the U.S. dollar,
mhm.
and for us to take a private car from the
Oh,
airport
that's
to our
easy.
hotel, it was like that was
Couple
like
of bucks, yeah.
$5 maybe. I mean, it was crazy. So
Yep.
I don't know what the cost difference is with the won versus the dollar. And
I think it's 7 to 1 roughly,
okay,
6 or 7 to 1, and um, but the cost is high. I mean, especially in a city, major city like Beijing, Xi'an, all these. The cost of everything is high.
and they don't
So
have Uber or or Lyft or anything like that, do they?
I'm not sure anymore. I'm not. I don't know. Maybe
Actually,
they
yeah,
do. I don't
it
know.
may have been over the couple of years. Okay, cool.
Hmm.
Well, I do want to thank you again for all of your wonderful knowledge that you share. Hopefully, that
Oh,
we'll be
thank
able to
you.
speak with you next time about Hong Kong. I think that would be really an interesting jump to go to the next spot and kind of see how everything went from there. Or maybe
We can
not.
talk. We can talk.
We'll talk more about that. So again, thank you so much, Ishan, for all your wonderful knowledge. We really appreciate it, and continue to do all the travels that you can on that. Okay.
Thank you. I hope people get to go there. It's a wonderful country.
I hope so too. I
Spend
mean,
some
and
time
I'm
there.
looking for it for myself.
Hmm.
So, so thank you so much for that. And to my students that are out there, if you have any questions or comments, you can certainly send them over to me at scott@theprofessortravel.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can click the bell icon right above us here in order to be notified of when new videos come out. If you haven't already done so, please hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything. It helps the channel and it helps our algorithm on this. So thank you so much for that. And then, of course, if you like this content and you want to see more of it, hit that like button and we'll be able to provide that to you. But if you're listening on the podcast, please feel free to rate us and review us. We really do appreciate all your feedback. Until next time, however, my name is Scott. I am the Professor Travel, and make all your trips a travel adventure. Take care, everybody. Bye bye now.
Bye. Thank you.